Shabbat Shalom. So nice to be with you tonight as we celebrate Shabbat at the end of what feels like another year-long week. We are here with Harlow Greenwald and her family, as Harlow will become a Bat Mitzvah tomorrow morning. So in a few minutes, she and her sister will be lighting Shabbat candles for family with us. And it's a beautiful evening. So welcome to all. We'll begin our service and by singing How Nice It Is for All of Us to Be Together, Hine Ma Tov. In our book, it's on page 10. Oh, by the way, I'm here with my colleagues, Molly May, who's our cantoral soloist, and Don McGahan, who is our music director and accompanist, and Olivia, who is running technology and just being amazing as always.
It is good to be together. Would you join me? Hine ma tovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim 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 shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov yadadai yadadadadadai. Hine ma tov yadadai yadadadadadai. Hine ma tovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim shevet achim gam yachad.
It is now my privilege to invite Harlow, together with her sister Remy, to light and bless Shabbat candles. In the prayer book, it's on page 2.
Ata Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kishani b'mitzvotav v'tzivani lahadlik ner shel Shabbat.
Amen. Thank you. Shabbat Shalom to one and all. We'll call on Harlow a bit later in the service at the end to lead us in Kiddush and Motzi. Meantime, we turn to page 12 to Kabbalat Shabbat, the first psalm of which is 95. We're going to spend a little bit of extra time this week on Kabbalat Shabbat, just taking our time with the psalms and looking a little bit deeper into them. And then we'll have some words of Torah, and we'll conclude with Kaddish tonight. So we're getting our Kabbalat Shabbat expanded version on page 12 with L'chuna Ranana. So just a little bit about Kabbalat Shabbat. Kabbalat Shabbat is a set of 6 Psalms from 95 through 99 plus Psalm 29. Those 6 Psalms stand for the 6 days where God, according to last week's Torah portion, Bereshit, the creation narratives, God created the world in 6 days. And so we have a Psalm for each day in creation. And this idea that God is this creator of all things. And so all things can praise God's name, just as God is the creator and sovereign over all, then everything in God's creation can praise God. And so that's kind of the idea of Kabbalat Shabbat. So our next Psalm, that was from 95 that we did. And so now we turn to 96, and we're going to be singing the first couple of verses or first couple of lines of Psalm 96 on page 13. I'd just like to share the end of that Psalm before we sing it. So this is the idea behind the Psalms. Let the heavens rejoice and the earth exult. Let the sea and all within it thunder. The fields and everything in them exalt. Then shall all the trees of the forest shout for joy at the presence of Adonai, for God is coming. For God is coming to rule the earth. God will rule the world justly and its people in faithfulness. So there's this idea of God ruling the entire world and all of us singing God's praises. So Shir Ladonai on page 13.
Hashamayim. Yismechu Hashamayim v'tagel haaretz yiram hayam umelo. Yismechu Hashamayim v'tagel השמיים ותגר הארץ ירם הים ומלוא. ישמחו השמיים ותגר הארץ ירם הים ומלוא.
that was Psalms 95 and 96. We have 2 verses that out of 96. We turn to Psalm 97, and we'll be doing Or Zarua. It's down on the bottom of page 14. I just want to say something about this one. These lines, Or Zarua Latzadik Ul Yishrei Lev Simcha. Light, or Zarua, is sown for the righteous, radiance for the upright. And in this week's Torah portion, Noach is referred to as the most righteous person in his generation, which sounds like kind of a left-handed compliment, right? He's the most righteous person in his generation could be a tremendous compliment. It could also be, if there were lots of righteous people, it could also be he was the most righteous of a bunch of bums. So it's hard to know exactly what was going on, except we do know that the world was so corrupt that God wanted to destroy it. So it probably is the second one, that he was the most righteous. But I still think that it's not a terrible thing. I mean, who wouldn't want to be known as the most righteous amidst a bunch of bums? So this verse connects us to Noah, but I want to just bring up something else, which is there's a piece of literature. It's an ancient prayer. It's called Perek Shirah, a chapter of song, literally, and in it, it has all of creation singing its songs of praise to God, and it just talks about all different kinds of animals and plants and insects, and each one of them has a verse from the Bible attached to it. There's 84 of those elements. And the idea, the concept behind this is that everything in the natural world can teach us a lesson in philosophy or ethics. So Olivia just put up Perek Shirah. The ones that deal with animals are the last ones, 4, 5, and 6. So in Perek Shirah, Or Zarua Latzadik happens to be credited to an animal called a stormy petrel. That's Petrel. I'm going to see if anyone knows what that is. Don't Google it. Just see if you know what it is. If you know what it is, put it in the chat, and we'll all be amazed at how much you know about animals. I did have to look it up. So stormy petrel, Petrel, and we'll sing Or Zarua on the bottom, page 14.
So I have a group together with me, and even if you don't have a group, you can still sing with my group, and we have a bunch of parts going on. So we'll start with this part. The words aren't too hard either. Bum biddy bum 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 bum. We can add another one. It goes like this. bitty bum bum bitty bum bum bitty bum bum.
Well, Olivia was the only person to put a guess, and Olivia said a bird because of Stormy, but I don't understand how you got to a bird from Stormy, but it actually is a bird. It's a tube-beaked bird. Kind of looks like a seagull-y kind of animal. So we turn now to Psalm 98, top of page 16. We're going to be singing the Zamru Ladonai B'chinor part, which is actually sing praise to God with a lyre, L-Y-R-E, what?
Liar.
Lyre.
Confused with a person who doesn't tell the truth.
Okay. But I wanted to comment on at the bottom where it says God will rule, at the end of the psalm, it says God will rule the world justly and its peoples with equity. The idea is that was going to come in the future. And as you think about the first couple of chapters of the Torah, first two portions for sure, Bereshit, the beginning, and Noach, the world is just getting its footing. I mean, it's the new creation, and things aren't going exactly the way that God had planned. So we had, and last week we learned about Cain and Abel and the expulsion of the Garden of Eden. And this week there's this totally corrupt earth and God wants to try again. But next week when we meet Abraham, then that's when we learn about justice. That's when Abraham stands up for the people of Sodom and Gomorrah, for example, and says, shouldn't the God of justice rule justly, as opposed to Noach, when he hears about the destruction of the world, says, okay, just give me the instruction on how to build an ark. So Psalm 98 at the top of page 16.
Right across the page, at the bottom of Psalm 99, there is Romamu. We are most familiar with this because we usually use this as one of our pieces for Hakafot in the Torah service. Your big part, aside from singing along the whole way, is the word ki, opposite me, in ki, 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 ki. Now, since everybody is muted, I can still see your faces, and I'm hoping to see that you're going to be singing ki after me in answer to me in Romamu. So make it really big because I'm watching all of you here, all right? Romamu Adonai Eloheinu v'ishtakavu lahakadsho. Romamu Adonai Eloheinu v'ishtakavu lahakadsho. Ki kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romamu. Ki Adonai Eloheinu Romamu. Romamu Adonai Eloheinu V'ishtakavu L'har Kodsho. Romamu Adonai Eloheinu V'ishtakavu L'har Kodsho. One more time. Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romamu. Ki Kadosh Adonai Eloheinu Romamu. Romamu Adonai Eloheinu V'ishtakavu L'har Kodsho. Romamu Adonai Eloheinu V'ishtakavu L'har Kodsho. Not bad.
From Psalm 29, the last section of Psalm 29 on page 19. Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. May God grant strength to God's people. May Adonai bestow on God's people well-being.
Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai yevarech et amo. Adonai oz le'amo yitain, Adonai yevarech et amo.
Continue on page 20 with L'chadodi. And since we are spending such lovely time in Kabbalat Shabbat together, we are going to do all of L'chadodi. And there are a lot of verses that we just don't get to spend enough time in this beautiful poem. For example, verse 4. Lift yourself up, shake off the dust, array yourself in beauty, O my people. And there's also verse 7, the scavengers were scattered, your devourers have fled. As a bridegroom rejoices in his bride, your God takes joy in you. The poem L'chadodi hides the name of the author, Shlomo Halevi, as the beginning letter of each verse of L'chadodi. And we're gonna do 3 tunes tonight. So if you don't know one, you might know the next.
L'chadodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. L'chadodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. L'chadodi likrat kala, pnei Shabbat nekabela. kala, peni Shabbat nekabela. התנערי מעפר קומי, לבשי בגדי תפארתך עמי, על יד בן ישי בית הלחמי, קרבה אל נפשי גאלה, לך דודי לקראת כלה, פני שבת נקבלה, לך דודי
Since we've just welcomed in the Shabbat bride or the Shabbat special honored guest, let's take a moment to wish one another Shabbat Shalom. You can put a hello, Shabbat Shalom in the chat wherever you're from. If you're not from Pittsburgh, maybe just put it in there and then we'll have a sense of who's here tonight. And while you're doing that, while everyone is doing that. Oh, so Gail Lefkowitz said Shabbat Shalom. So Shabbat Shalom and happy birthday week to Gail. We can turn to page 22. We'll be getting ready for Tzadika Tamar, which is, we always say, the psalm for Shabbat, which is Psalm 92, not part of Kabbalat Shabbat. That is on page 22.
And it is the indented portion of the text, just about the middle of the page. Tzadika Tamar yifrach ke'eretz balvanon yiskeh shetulim bebeit Adonai bechatzrot Eloheinu yafrichu od yanuvun beseva dishenim verananim yiyu lehagid ki yashar Adonai tzuri velo avladabo.
We're going to spend a few moments with the Torah portion and our animals, our pets. If you have a pet who is willing to sit with you and even possibly be shown on screen, we're going to do that in a few minutes. First, I just like to talk a little bit about this week's Torah portion. I say that because my dog, but you know, if you've talked to me for more than 5 minutes, you know that I have a dog that I love deeply, deeply, truly, named Toby, but he doesn't like to be on screen. And I also have another dog that I'm what did I say? Taking care of this week. Small white dog named Xena. So go get your animals if you can. But we're going to talk a little bit about this week's Torah portion. Just actually want to talk about it with respect to last week's as well. So I'm wondering, Olivia, if you can, there we go. We have Dawn on the main screen. Dawn and Star. So last week was Bereshit, the first week of the first Torah portion in the Torah. And it was only last week that the world was created according to our tradition. In that portion, we have two creation stories. The one that takes the 6 days, and the other one is about Adam and Eve. We have the first murder where Cain kills his brother Abel. It's interesting because at that point in the Torah, we don't know about any other living humans other than Adam and Eve and Cain and Abel. So when Cain kills Abel, when he kills his brother, we learn that homicide is in fact, well, I'm going to call it siblicide, the murder of a sibling. All homicide is in fact siblicide, at least beginning from the beginning. So now by this week, it's just 1 week into the weekly Torah portion cycle, and the world is already so corrupt that God chooses to destroy it. You all know this part of the story because it's almost like a children's story a lot of times. Noah, his family, and 2 mating pairs of animals go aboard a teva, an ark, and they are tasked with the daunting job of starting the world back up after the end of the flood. When the water subsides, they are to go out onto the land and restart the world from their teva. I want to bring that word back up, the ark. This task of restarting the world is so overwhelming to Noah that he takes a little bit too much of his grape harvest and turns it into wine and gets drunk. And it doesn't end well for anyone in that story. And then the very last part of this portion, Noah, includes a story of the Tower of Babel. And this is, of course, that story where the people have this misguided attempt to feel powerful And because there was only one language during that time, they were able to use it to create something of power, a tower. They built this large tower as opposed to perhaps building a bridge or some way to connect with other people. And a punishment from that was that we can no longer understand one another, that there's all these different languages all throughout the world. So wow, that's like a lot of not such great news. So what can we learn positive from this Torah portion? So I'd like to suggest a couple of things before we get to the animal blessing. The idea of a teva, an ark, I think it's an appealing notion that, that there's a place for us to go where we can weather our storms, where we can regroup, we can prepare ourselves for what comes next. If we think about our being at home and being in isolation, or to whatever extent we're not out in the world, then we might understand our home as our teva, our ark, our safe place where we can prepare for a better world, prepare for returning to the world, but prepare for it to be a better world that we're going to work toward. So if we understand our homes and our communities, even our Zoom communities, or maybe even especially our Zoom communities, as our teva, as our ark, then we can maybe find the patience that we need and the strength that we need as we're going to be in these tevas for a little bit longer as we approach the months and the winter ahead. I'd like to just point out the environmental message of this portion cannot ever be overemphasized. We hear at the end that God will not destroy our earth by flood again, but it's up to us, human beings, to prevent its destruction. We're told last week in the Garden of Eden story that human beings are to protect and care for, actually to serve. The word is to serve the earth. And I would like to just remind everyone that even though our environmental issues have not been at the top of the news cycle lately, they are in fact still very much at the top of our priority, or should be at the top of our priority list. So I invite you to think about new and more gentle ways that we can all care for the earth once we leave our teva, our arks, and our homes, and it can go out again into the environment. And then finally for tonight, we'll remember that in the creation narratives, God gives human beings the responsibility of taking care of all the earth's creatures, in addition to the planet itself. Our relationships with animals, we're told that we are supposed to be here to take care of them. And as we do that, we need to remind ourselves to be careful. I was thinking we have to be careful about our relative power that we have over animals. We have a position of power and strength. They're not necessarily physically stronger than all the animals, but we certainly have, if we want to, the power to hurt them as opposed to take care of them. So now if you have your animal or near you, we're going to do a bit of a blessing. I don't know that this has ever been done before at Road of Shalom, where we are, where we've had a blessing of the animals, but you know, it could be fun. So I invite you to get your pet and to put your pet's name, if you can, into the chat, and we'll have a whole long list of, I hope, of great names, all different kinds of, you know, birds and turtles and fish, as included, and dogs and cats, of course. I'll start. My dog is Toby. So we put your names in, and I'm going to start the blessing. Source of all creation. Here comes my boy. Come here, sweetie. Source of all creation, may we who are entrusted to look after all the creatures on this planet be inspired by love and mercy to care for and direct our hearts toward their welfare. As we recall the ancient flood and the ark that protected all the creatures on earth, we are aware of the bond between human beings and animal beings. Allow your blessings, God, to rest upon all the creatures that live upon the earth, all those who have legs to walk upon, bellies to glide upon, fins to move and gills to breathe, wings with which to fly. Give them peace and wholeness. Let their lives be protected and their purpose fulfilled. May we who are entrusted to look after all the creatures on this planet be inspired by love and mercy to care for and direct our hearts toward the welfare of our pets. We give thanks for the bonds we share with our pets, and we are grateful for their very lives. So let me get the names here. This is a blessing for all of these animals. We have Star, of course. Dolly and Lila, JJ and BB, Jake, Dixie, Durin, Jeff and Bob. Those are dogs or cats. I don't know, they're not humans. Mumu, Carmela, Soprano, Goodman, Shapira, Toby, Sydney Crosby, last name of Brock, Cooper, Ginger, Maisie, and chickens, cows, and turkeys.
Colby.
Really need our blessings. Pumpkin and Milo, Ocean, the iguana, Ozzy, Butterscotch and Honey Bear. I love it. 99. Harlow, Max, Biscuit, Sosa, and Muffin and Shadow. So great. I love it. Oh, and I can see some of the animals. There they are, so cute. So to all of our pets, we are grateful for the love you allow us to give you, for the love we allow ourselves to believe you give us, for the times you have protected us from physical or emotional harm, for all the times you warned us about a danger, for all the furniture you have destroyed and all the rugs you have shed on and done other things on, for all the exercise we got walking you, for all the sleep you got in our beds and on our heads, for all the nights we dreamt about you, for all the work days you missed us, for all the blood pressure lowered, for all the depressions mitigated, for all the tails wagged, for all the purrs purred. We thank you, beloved pets, our companions. We give thanks to God for your companionship, and we give you thanks for your companionship. Oh, there's a few more. Well, we got Deke. So what a wonderful thing to celebrate all of these animals. I love that, learning their names and seeing a few of them on the screen. What a pleasure it is to have animals in our lives, especially now. Well, that was fun. We're going to move, though, from our Lords of Torah and our celebration. Oh, we got another one. Oro, a grand dog. I'll keep putting them in, but we might not be able to keep reading them out loud. We're going to turn now to Misha Berach and think of those human members of our families and friends who are in need of healing, who are suffering, who might be isolated, who are struggling with addictions and anxiety and loneliness, illness. Tonight we remember for healing Millard Balloon, Kate Brody, Olivia Burton, Georgia Davidson, David Dorenberg, Peter and Tim Flokos, Barb Hepner, Naum Kaplan, Lee Kramer, Miranda Larson, Carolyn McDowell, Robert Marcus, Kristen Wood Meyer, Millie Morey, Lev Podorowski, Ruth Rubenstein, Pat Shore, Arnie Silverman, Dick Simon, Jackie Student, Cantor Moshe Taube, Arlene Wolk. We also hold in our hearts Steve Woods, Joel Berg, Rob Neal. Sing together Misha Berach. It's in the prayer book on page 253.
מקור הברכה, לאבותינו. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shlema, the renewal of body, the renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
I'm going to see if I can go off script for a moment. I'm give heads up, Olivia. I'm wondering if we could do announcements now and then come back to our outline, or if that would mess us up too much.
No, not at all. I have them ready.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Olivia here. I'm going to share some announcements for our coming week. Everything's in the Shalomogram, as it has been, as well as service information, which you find in the Friday morning email. If you're not getting those for any reason, feel free to reach out to me, tucker@rodefshalom.org, and we'll see what we can do. Tomorrow morning, we're back with Harlow again for Bat Mitzvah at 10:30 a.m. But before that, at 9:15, Rabbi Bert Schumann shares the second in his two-part series of Jewish life in Europe between the two world wars. It's going to be Netherlands and Poland and the Weimar Republic, some incredibly fascinating stories of our ancestors that we don't hear very often, with some really fascinating pictures too. So if you missed the first one, it's on YouTube. And if you'd like to join for the second one without going to the first one, that's fine too. We'd love to see you there at 9:15 tomorrow. Our Community Outreach and Social Action Committee is holding the Share the Warmth Drive for warm weather clothing to be donated to our Pursuer of Peace Award recipient, Giselle Fetterman's Free Store. So the big drop-off date is Sunday, November 1st. So it's 2 Sundays from now. And there's also some pickup opportunities if drop-off is not an option for you. The same goes for returning machzorim. We would love if you could get them to the vestibule, back to our Red F Shalom building by November 1st. If not, if dropping it off is not an option for you, you can talk with Rabbi Henry about pickup options. We just want to get the prayer books back. We're glad that you were able to borrow them. Also want to let people know voting day is just a couple weeks away. The last day to have your application in for your mail-in or absentee ballot is the 27th. Unfortunately, in Pennsylvania, if you have not registered to vote yet, it is too late to register to vote. But you can still order your ballot. So much more information at votespa.com. So that's October 27th, which is, of course, a very significant day for us, where we reach the second year commemoration of October 27th, which we commemorate with this Sunday, community service projects led by Repair the World, spiritual connections and study sessions organized both on October 27th and on the Hebrew Yard site, November 4th and November 5th. So there's a lot of information you can see the URL at the bottom, 1027healingpartnership.org, for a lot more information about how to engage and make this meaningful time a little more meaningful. We also would like to let you know about another memoriam on Sunday. It starts on Facebook Live. This is with Squirrel Hill Stands Against Gun Violence, Ceasefire PA, and Bend the Arc. Phone banking for voter engagement and gun safety initiatives follow memorial discussion of events in their context of anti-Semitism, anti-immigrant hatred, white supremacy, and the ease of access to guns in our culture. So that's at squirrelhillstandsagainstgunviolence.org. So we hope that if these aren't going to be meaningful programs to you, which they may be very meaningful, that you find a way to make meaning, and that you can connect over a really difficult couple days. So those are our announcements for this evening. Our president, Karen Breen, would like to share a report from the board as well.
Thank you, Olivia. So Olivia was talking about the word connections, and as we all brace ourselves for the winter ahead, we recognize at the board and the executive committee how important our communication is. During the summer after Stephanie Rex left, we brought on Lindsay Smith to work as a consultant in communications. And Lindsay has really been advising us and helping us to retool our website. That's in process. She was really the work behind our High Holiday website, also the whole campaign around the Jewish History series. So we're really fortunate to have her working with us, and we're looking at ways to communicate better with all of you within our congregation and with the outside world, whether it's retooling Hakesher, the Shalomogram, and again, the website. So please stay tuned, and we look forward to stronger, better, and closer communication. Thank you, Shabbat Shalom, and Mazel Tov to Harlow and to your family.
Just a few moments, we'll invite Harlow to lead us in Kiddush and Motzi, but first we will turn to Kaddish prayer book. It's on page 294. Our thoughts turn to those who have recently departed this earth. We think of our member, Nancy Berkowitz, particularly, she died earlier in the week. Her name was on the Misha Baruch for just so long. So sad to now count her among those recently deceased. Also, another member of our community, Shirley Tucker, buried today. We remember Nancy Berkowitz, Keith Cox, Linda Dickerson, Patty Espinoza Demko, Carla Phillip, Earl Glasser, Claire G. Morris, Kenneth Phillips, Bessie Brody Santoro, Shirley Tucker, and Victoria Warren, all of whom died recently within the last month. We also think of those who died at this season in years past, whose yahrzeit we mark on the Shabbat: Edwin Cohen, Lynn Gorman, Roland Harrison, Herbert Kaufman, James Klingensmith, Dorothy Lando, Barbara Lichtenstein, Raymond Richmond, and Miriam Yar. Chat, if you've added names, please feel free to do that. We also remember Michael Coleman for yahrzeit, Sylvia Furman, Marge Champion, Adele Layton. We continue with Kaddish. If you'd like to unmute, we will have the sounds of all of our voices, or you can stay on mute and we join together. I'm sorry. Vit Gadal, Vit Kadash, Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
Yamad Yivrach Rutei, V'yamlich Malchutei, Chaychon V'yamechon, Chayed, Chol Beit Yisrael, V'agalau V'zman Kariv, V'mru.
Amen.
Yeshmei Rabbah
Rabba
Ach
Mevorach,
leolam ome omaya.
Yitzbarach, V'yishtamach, V'yitzbar, V'yitramam, V'yitnasa, V'yitadar, V'yitala, V'yitalal, Shmei D'Kudashah,
Richu.
Min kol birchata v'shirata, tushvachata v'nechamata, namiran b'alma v'imru amen.
Amen.
Shlama rabba min shmaya, v'chaim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav, hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu, o kol Yisrael v'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen.
Amen.
Shalom bimromav, hu yaseh shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel, ve'imru
our closing song is Shalom Aleichem. I don't have a page number here.
It's
think most
24 in
people-
the front, but I think is it 344? Anybody help? Olivia, Molly?
We'll get it.
24 works.
24 works too.
24. And after Shalom Aleichem, you know what? I'm so sorry to do this, but I'd like to do Kiddush and Motzi and then Shalom Aleichem. Is that all
That's
right?
fine with me.
All right, let's do that.
Harlow,
Sorry.
you're up.
What?
I said, Harlow, you're up.
Harlow, that makes it your turn. I'm sorry to be mixing things up. But Harlow, we'd like to invite Harlow, our Bat Mitzvah, tomorrow morning to lead us in Kiddush. In the book, it's on page 5.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam borei pri hagafen.
Amen.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzah b'anu b'shabbat kodesh b'ahava u'b'ratzon hinhi lanu zikaron l'ma'aseh b'reshit ki hu yom tehillah l'mikra'ei kodesh seher letziyat Mitzrayim ki banu v'harta v'tanu kidash tamikol ha'amim B'Shabbat kodesh be'ahava u'v'ratzon hin haltanu Baruch atah Adonai mekadesh haShabbat.
L'chaim. Yeah, take a sip of that.
I did.
Yeah. There you go. You lead us in the Motzi?
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz.
Amen. Mazel tov. We're looking forward to tomorrow. We'll conclude our service with Shalom Aleichem, which we said was on page 24.
Yes, since you're at the beginning of the book for Kiddush and Motzi, 24 is close. Shalom Aleichem, Alechei Hasharet, Alechei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malechei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Boechem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Baruchuni l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Bimelech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu. Tzedchem l'shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon, Bimelech, Malachei Hamlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
Hang on, please.